I'm often asked, how do I get into dirt bike riding? And what gear do I need? So here are some of the things that we'll cover in this video. The right bike. Now, there's going to be a lot of opinion out there, and I'm sure we're not going to get it right. And there's going to be a lot of people who have different opinions. Totally fine. It can be overwhelming. So we're going to just start with a basic recommendation for the average rider who's trying to get back into riding, or maybe who is starting off for the first time. So let's dive into some of the considerations that you may want to think through when you're selecting a bike. Number one, reliability. Is it going to start every single time? Are you going to have to be tweaking or tinkering with it every time you take it out? That for us is a really big, important consideration. So we weigh that pretty heavily. Now, the next one would be ride height, because we have a wide range of ride heights within the riders that ride with us on a regular basis. And having a good ratio between your leg length and the height of the bike really does improve the feel of stability on a dirt bike. The next one for us is weight. So if the bike weighs about 300 pounds and you weigh 110 pounds, it's going to be pretty difficult for you to be able to control that bike. And so weight is another big consideration for us. Now, power. There are a lot of things to consider here. There's a 2-stroke, there's 4-stroke. They deliver power differently. And then there's also how much power do you actually need to do the kind of riding you want to do? Are you doing slow technical stuff? Or are you doing fast, high-speed things? So for us, getting a good balance and matching the skill level of the rider with the amount of power that they require is really what we try to focus on. Now, suspension. Suspension's pretty interesting because it's probably not going to have quite as much impact, and this is where I'm going to get totally flamed in comments. However, the amount of suspension travel can be beneficial to you depending on the type of riding you do. And also the type of response that you get out of that suspension can also really change how much control you have over the bike. If it soaks up, if it soaks up the rocks and the terrain really good, then you can feel a lot more stable on that bike, which will give you a lot more confidence. Now, that being said, if you're a beginner rider, you may not notice as big a difference in the suspension components. So that will lead us into the next component, which is cost. Obviously, we can't just throw caution to the wind and go buy the very best bike. Unless you have enough money to do it, fantastic, go do it. It will make your experience better. Now, for most people getting into it, they don't want to spend too much money because they want to prove to themselves, I'm actually going to get into this hobby and I'm going to ride my bike on a regular basis. And so for those people looking to do this on a more conservative budget, then the suspension is also going to tie into the cost, because the better the suspension, the better the power, the better everything, the more expensive the bike's going to be, and the better the handling's going to be. For us, we're trying to balance all these variables and optimize all of them for our rider type and for the riding that we're going to do and our budget that we have available. And so we use just a table. You could call it a decision matrix if you wanted to, but essentially what we're doing is we're saying, what are we grading the dirt bike on? And how good is it at those things that we're grading it on? And then maybe we add weights to it, like which one is the most important for us? Maybe cost is most important, so that's going to have a much heavier weight to it than maybe suspension or maybe fuel economy or something else. So when we put a decision matrix together like this, we're just trying to weigh out what's going to be best for that specific rider. And just know, you're probably going to buy a bike, and then a year later or 2 years later or 3 years later, you're probably going to want to buy a different bike. So today's discussion, we're trying to get you as close to that optimum in order to make the duration of having that first bike as long as possible to keep your costs down. Now, just know that you're probably going to become a better rider and you're going to want better equipment. On to the recommendation from Dirt Bike Dads. Now, this is based on our experience riding several different bikes, using decision matrices, trying to select bikes for the riders within our group. And this is just our opinion, but we're going to give you a good, better, best. And that's going to be a summary of all of the different factors that we've talked about here, and cost being one of the biggest ones. And so we are going to present that, but obviously you're going to have to do your own research in order to get the bike that is going to fit you and the type of riding you want to do. For the shorter riders in your group who want to go a little bit faster than what a CRF 125 will do, check out our other video on finding the right dirt bike for average gal. Protective gear is a must, starting with your helmet. While I consider myself a pretty average rider based on the group of riders that we ride with, it's surprising to me, even to this day, how many times that I crash and how many times there are new scratches on my helmet after one of those crashes. So if you don't have a helmet on, that's going to be your melon. So number one, go buy a good helmet. Now, helmets come in a wide range of operations and different functions that they have. There are going to be a lot of personal preferences out there, whether you have goggles or a full face shield, whether you have a sunshade that comes down or a monochromatic self-changing face shield. or if the jaw line actually folds up so you can eat and drink while you're on the trail a little bit easier. There are a lot of different features, so look at them and find out which one is right for you. However, I would suggest looking into getting one with MIPS, and that is going to save your head when you do crash, better than a standard helmet. This is where you don't want to go too cheap on a helmet. You do want to make sure that you're spending a decent amount of money because it is protecting probably the most valuable asset that you have, which is your brain. I'm going to say boots are number 2 on this list because I've had so many injuries to my feet and ankles when I don't wear boots. And it always is just that one time when I'm just stupid and I jump on my bike really quick and I go for a quick ride, in quotes, and end up jacking up my foot or my ankle. Number 2 on the list, go buy boots. I've had 3 different pair and I've now settled on the ones that you see here. They're good boots. They are expensive. They're worth it. What I look for in a boot and what differentiates a good boot from a not so good boot is how comfortable it is while I'm riding and while I'm walking around. The next protective gear that I would suggest is some sort of body armor or protective jacket like the ones that you see here. There are several available. The one that I settled on was actually on Amazon. However, I am going to be testing out a new version from Rocky Mountain ATVMC here in the next little bit. I've had the one from Amazon for about 2, maybe 3 years now, and it's worked pretty well. I've liked it. I did have to buy like a quadruple XL or something because the sizes were off for the United States. It was very inexpensive and it's worked good. Usually what I'm looking for here is it breathable? Is it compact? Is it small? Is it easy to store? Because you don't want to get overheated. I do put my jersey over the top of it so it doesn't look quite as scary, I guess. But they are very helpful. When you crash and your elbow comes down hard on the ground, it's very nice to have a pad in between your shoulder, your elbow, your back, and the ground. Pants are definitely worth mentioning because they can actually come with pads in them. So knees, hips, and they really do help with that. But the features that I'm looking for in a pair of pants for dirt bike riding is, does it have zipper pockets on it? Pockets are pretty important. You can get them so they tuck into your boots or they go out around your boots. They have a lot of different features. Are they waterproof? Are they not? Are they breathable? So do they have zippers that actually open up so you can get ventilation in through the front and out the back? Now I have settled on the ones that you see here. They're, again, expensive, but they are good. So pants, probably not as critical. However, those are some of the features that you might want to look for or consider when you're coming up with purchasing some pants. Riding friends. Now this is a tough one because it's going to depend on the type of riding you want to do and the skill level that everyone in the group is at. And so we've had some rides where we had 28 riders show up for a single ride, and we had a very wide range of skill levels. And then we've also had some rides where it's just 2 of us, and so we're pretty well matched. So when you are trying to pick which friends to invite on different rides, just make sure that they're comfortable getting into what you are planning on riding. There have been a few times, I think, where maybe we have undersold the level of difficulty even to ourselves, and we were surprised at how hard the trail was. Those are all good. I think learning how to overcome those challenges while in the moment is terrible, but after the fact, you're like, all right, we did that. You can go home with that sense of satisfaction. So when you are picking friends to go on the trail, that's probably my number 1 suggestion, is just make sure that you're all kind of on the same level, or you're at least willing to be patient and helpful to make sure that everyone can make it through the different obstacles. Now on to trails to ride. How do you find the right trail for the skill set? This is always a tough thing. We've planned many trips, and even to this day, we have planned trips and they have not gone according to plan. Almost every time, in fact, because maybe we end up running into a closed gate or something. And by the way, we strongly suggest you do not open gates and ride on private property. Only go on marked trails. Now, we have found that Onyx Off-Road is the best tool that we have come across for planning trips and also for navigating well on trips. And so you can see on the screen there, I'm navigating around a little bit. You can do 2D, you can do 3D. You can plan out the route so then you have every part of the route planned. Now again, be flexible. It's going to change. Things are not going to go as planned, but that's part of the adventure. We have finally made it to the last topic, which is transport and storage. It's surprising to me how much information I'm actually cutting out of this summary, so it's as short as possible. But there are so many intricate details that I would love to share with every one of you. If there's anything that you would like for me to dive into a little deeper in a different video, please let me know in the comments. Now, when you're going to buy something that is like a dirt bike or really anything, you need to think about, how am I going to get it from my house to the trail? And then also, when I get back, am I going to clean it up before I put it away? Am I going to maintain it so it works next time I take it out? And then finally, how am I going to store it? Is this going to be stored inside or outside? And I can tell you from experience, if you store it outside, the seat, all the plastics, it's not going to last very long out in the sun. So I would strongly suggest finding a good way to store it. I'm going to put a shameless plug in here for our OEM tie-down system for the Ford F-350 Super Duty and other trucks that have the OEM tie-down package in them for a fifth wheel. It makes it super easy to put up to 3 dirt bikes in the bed of your truck. We do have a new model out that's we are finishing up the final touches on. It will be available in the next few weeks, which is much lighter and much less expensive, but it's super fast to tie down your dirt bikes. So check that out on dirtbikedads.com. So if your life could use more views like these, moments like these, and good times like these,
what in the crap were we thinking?
follow Dirt Bike Dads. Here's a little bonus for those who stuck around this long. The best purchase we've made is a way to communicate with one another on a dirt bike. There are many brands out there. We have settled on Senna, but communication while riding makes it way more fun. Plus a lot more trash talking.